2 minutes to the meeting starting, if they ask me to come be the 10-minute speaker, I got to say yes, right? So here I am. Fair warning, I'm definitely over caffeinated, so if I'm all over the place, I apologize. So Alcoholics Anonymous, God and the steps are the things that allow me to stand here before you today. I like to think that growing up, like, I had a good route, right? But through the steps, I realized that, I did come from a very toxic household. And the reason I say that is because, when you grow up and toxic feels like home, right? Well, I've been able to realize, like, how my disease manifested itself before I even took a drink, and then what happened after I took that drink. So, it took me a long time to find these rooms. It took me having to go to prison for most of my 20s. It took me still, after coming home, thinking I could do it my way. As long as I'm not doing outside issues and just drinking beer and I have a job, I'll be cool, right? Well, that kind of mentality for me, see, I suffer slowly, right? My alcoholism doesn't take me right away. It takes me gradually and painfully over time. And because it takes that time, I don't realize how bad it's getting until it's really, really bad, right? And what that looks like for me is turning to outside issues, right? And so I have a sobriety date of August 8th, 2021, coming up on a year, which is incredible to me. That's the longest I've had clean since I was like 12. So, this program has given me a lot of gifts. I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor. He has a sponsor, and I have sponsee brothers, and I'm of service, right? You talk about the triangle. We got unity, service, and recovery, right? I have commitments. I'm of service to my fellows, and I work the steps. That's what was taught to me, and I have God in my life today. Because the only time I prayed was when, like, the disco lights were behind me, or when something was really, really bad. I'm like, get me out of this one, right? And it's funny. All along, I've had something more powerful than me looking after me. Because I should have been dead a long time ago for many, many different reasons. So, I just want to touch on, if you're new, like, welcome. It's going to be all right, just don't drink, and then get a sponsor, and then everything else will kind of fall into place. You don't have to figure it out all on your first day. And so, this program has given me a lot of blessings. So when I paroled from prison, I got a job that, was through a job agency, and that led me to a field in aerospace. And so, I had my CEO come and talk to me, and because I got clean and sober, I was able to really show up for my company, and they're now putting me in school. So I applied for college this morning, and hey, thank you. And I would not be saying that if it weren't for Alcoholics Anonymous, and I have a lot of people that hold me accountable to that, and I have a disease that wants to tell me, like, oh, you're going to suffer in school, right? It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. You're going to have to drive there after work. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to let the life that AA gave me hold me back from my, like, full potential, right? And this program has been, like, single-handedly the only thing that's kept me, like, cool, right? Like, because I used to either be, like, really, really high or really, really low. And through working the steps and getting a good idea of, like, what powerlessness is, what insanity is, I've been able to be pretty neutral at all times, which is a really good place for me to be, because I'm either going really, really fast or I'm not going fast at all. And, those are the two places I take my will back. We talk about turning our will and our life over to the care of God. By the way, I'm on step 4. So I'm going to talk about the first, 3 or 4, the ones I work every day. And then the rest I'll talk about next time you see me up here, right? So, I take my will back, like, and I do. Unless I'm applying these principles to my life every day, I'll take it back. And I won't really realize I'm taking it back until, my sponsor or someone close to me is like, where you been? Or why aren't you doing, what you said you were going to do, right? And, the places I take my will back are when things are really, really good or when things are really, really bad. And that's okay today, because I know that, where, I got a pretty good idea of where my disease will take me. And, this program is literally, it's been the only thing that's got my family back. I'm a brother now. I'm a son. I'm a friend. And I show up for myself. And, man, it's humbling having to hit my knees every morning. But when I don't, I'm fucked up. And, I'm a plant dad too. I got lots of plants, and I take really good care of them, and that's part of my morning meditation. Is I fucking miss my plants and water them before I go to work and shit. And like my disease wants me to think like, oh yeah, like stay tough, like you're a felon or whatever. Well, that's not who I am today. And I'm not gonna let me hold back from like telling you like what makes me happy, which is plants, friends, not weed plants, but like tropical like plants, right? Like ones that are really hard to take care of, right? And you know what, like, and I work long hours, but my job makes me happy. I have my hands on some cool stuff, and I get to practice like my powerlessness at work, because like it gets us a job, right? We're not drinking, and it's real easy to like character assassinate literally everybody that I work with, right? Including my boss, like I'm the first person to say that motherfucker's a dick, right? But at the end of the day, pardon my language, by the way, he's the one that is always gunning for me to do better. He's just really rough around the edges, and this program teaches me like, okay, well, what's his life like, right? I'm not here to take his inventory, but I know he's the youngest brother of all the brothers, and they're fucking hard on him. I see it every day. I work for a family company. So I can kind of like practice that like empathy, you know what I mean? That, okay, like I can kind of see why he's hard on me, because they were hard on him. And so, and that allows me to like not react, right? Because like I want to snatch his face off, but I don't, right? I don't. And so I'm off parole. I'm no longer on parole. That is huge for me. That is huge for me. I never thought that I would come home and be okay, because I just wanted to come home and just not pick up, right? Not drink. And I didn't do that right, but I did this right, I surrendered to this program, and a full surrender, it took me a while, you could ask my sponsor, it took me a while. But following the suggestions, they're real simple, but I like to complicate everything, So where's my timer? Oh, okay. I got 5 minutes left? Okay, cool. All right. So some things that that really like help me out is really like being of service. Honestly, I want to touch on that because like my disease tells me like, oh, you don't want that commitment. Like it's gonna be a lot of work. You're gonna get off work, you have to shower, you're gonna be tired, blah blah blah. But those commitments really have like saved my life. And through showing up for those commitments, someone nominated me for another commitment that was like of a little bit more prestige, right? Pride and ego aside, it's a good commitment to have, and now like I get to be like somebody that people look to, like, oh, okay, that's Cody, he's doing this at that meeting, you know what I mean? And now since then I've had some people come up to me like, where's Randy? Who come and ask me to speak, right? If I had been working the program I was working 4 months ago, you probably wouldn't have come and asked me to speak. You know what I mean? Or maybe you would have. I don't know. But I would have came up. I would have come up here and probably not known what to say, or it wouldn't have been genuine. You know what I mean? So thank you for asking me. And like it wasn't as 2 minutes. All right. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Like my heart calmed down. Like everything's kind of cool. I see a lot of familiar faces in here, and now that I realize I'm among my peers and my friends, like I'm good, right? Because you guys can all laugh and relate, right? But sponsorship, like I'm excited to sponsor others, but I don't want to, give away what I don't have, right? So my sponsor likes to tell me like, slow down, like, cause I'm always like going really, really fast and I miss everything in between. And after I started to slow down and like really apply this program after I leave the rooms and after I leave work, right? Trigger warning, I live with my parents, right? But you know what? My mom, right? She's one of us. And through working a program and like actually taking it home with me, like she found herself in the rooms on her own will, because I always wanted that for her. But my mom is now 4 months sober, and we get to go to meetings together, and you know what? I get to show up for her like she showed up for me. She rocked with me the entire time I was locked up. She put up with all my shit when I was out there drinking and using, and today like we're really, really close. And that was something that like my inner child really wanted as a kid, but my environment and my disease took me away from like my family and my friends. And I'm actually like really, really happy most of the time, right? And not to say it's all going to be rainbows and unicorns, because we'll have bad days, but the bad days are becoming less frequent. And if that's, that's for me, that's something that, keeps me pushing forward amongst all the other things I mentioned. But like I said, if you're new, like, welcome. Take it a day at a time. Sometimes I don't even know what that means, but things get better. Things get better. People start to notice, like, sober looks good on people, and at the end of the day, just like, give yourself a break. It's going to be okay. And if you're feeling fucked up, you can call me, and if I don't have the answer, I might know somebody that might know something that you need. But anyways, thanks for letting me share.
Great. Thank you.
Beer, Country Club Lager. Some of you guys might remember that. It came in 4-inch cans, and 2 for each, for my friend, for himself, and alcohol at that moment became my higher power. That's all I wanted to go and do for a long time. I'm 15 years old, but I'm going to find it somewhere, somehow, some way. I'm sitting here looking out at the audience, and I'm seeing a lot of young people. It's hard for me to understand that some of these girls especially look like they started drinking in kindergarten. But it didn't harm them. They're all gorgeous. They're all gorgeous. Okay. Now, I can't say that about the guys, okay? You are a hard group. I have often sat in this place, because I live in Manhattan Beach, in the back, ready to escape, ready to get out, ready to go. And I always wanted to be up front. You can't get more up front than where I'm at. It works, it works. This is a hard group, by the way. I've sat here, and I think that this is AA's comedy hour. You've had some people here and the laughter is just resounding all the time. 15 years old, and I'm looking for booze, and I will find the booze some way, somehow. Cheap drunk. Didn't take much at all. I drank a little bit, and immediately there's a change in attitude and a change of personality. The Jekyll and Hyde situation where you drink, and all of a sudden you become a different person. That was me. I wanted to tell you early on, by the way, in case some of you eagle eyes will notice that sometimes my voice trembles a bit or my hand will shake. Has nothing to do with booze, trust me. I'm at the early stages of Parkinson's. And so if I'm up here talking and all of a sudden my arm starts to go up, it's not bad, okay? It's just... But at my age, I'll die of something else. So, Randy, when he asked me to speak, I completely forgot about it. And I'll explain how unusual that is. Because I'm a lawyer. And lawyers talk and talk and talk and talk about anything and everything. But anyway, the reason is that I am not in coat and tie like I often do when I speak, is I didn't know I was going to speak until I walked in the door. You guys almost escaped. I almost didn't come tonight. But here I am, and there you are. And why? We all have something in common, don't we? In fact, even the Al-Anons have in common, they've had to take care of the drunks all their lives. Okay. And some sweethearts, guys are Al-Anon as well. We're sicker than the alcoholic, okay? Because we had to put up with us all that time, and we drove them crazy. We really did. It's rather interesting. Through high school, I came up with a good Catholic school education. The nuns took me to task, and they insisted that I learn and learn well reading, writing, and arithmetic. We don't call it arithmetic anymore. We just call it math or calculus or something else. It's rather interesting. But they taught me well. I was a good student. I was into sports a lot. I'm sorry I didn't get to be 6'4" and weigh 200 and some odd pounds. Otherwise, I'd be a professional someplace, okay? But little what I did what I could. But I was in school, and that was okay. But come the end of the day, the end of the week, whether it was football or baseball or swimming or track, we all got together and drank. And I say we all got together, the same guys that drank that I did. You know, birds of a feather flock together. That's why we're all here. We're all birds flocking together, okay? Okay. We have something in common. So that's the way I went through high school. But I'm only 15, 16, 17, 18, not drinking all the time. And I developed what we call is a progressive type of drinking. Didn't drink daily. But when I drank, I drank a lot. They often say that if you happen to be a daily drinker and you decided you wanted Alcoholics Anonymous, you needed 1 meeting a day. If you're a periodic, like I am periodic, and we could always stop drinking, we couldn't stay stopped, you need 2 meetings a day. Because I always believed I can stop drinking. Okay, you want me to put it in? Anyway, it got worse, never better. Go through all of that. I want to get to the point how I got to meet you guys. Do the high school stuff. Go to college. In college, I was known as Two Beers Eli. That's all it took. Personality change. And I was a different person right off the bat. Get through college. Go through law school. Interesting. Most important thing that is in your life is your thinking is to become a lawyer. And so what do? You stop the drinking, right? But you don't stop it all the time. You stop it once in a while. Give you an example of how cunning, baffling, and powerful this stuff is when I take it in. I'm taking the bar exam, and it's in August in Glendale College, and I got a sports coat. Now the sports coat has a little pocket on the side. Perfect place for a bottle, a half pint of whatever you like to drink. And here I am taking the bar exam. It's tough. 2 days. And I'm sitting there drinking. How in the world I got through that bar exam, passed it the first time? The only bar I ever passed. Okay. So here I am, and can you guess? I bet you can. I wanted to be my own self-practitioner. I set up my office. What do you think I wanted to put in my office? What? A bar. Yeah. You guys were drinkers. A bar. Not the books, not the typewriter. Well, we didn't have the computers back then, okay? It was that type situation. But anyway, things got worse, never better. I'm going to fast forward. Because all of you, I'm sure in this room, have a story of your own. And some of you are young, or I seem looking at some young people. You haven't got a story to tell yet, okay? But you keep on drinking, you're going to do it. Then you'll sit up here with, like I am sitting, telling somebody who's even younger than you are how it was, what happened, and what it's like now. Hopefully that'll be okay. That'll be okay. Anyway, there I am. 4, count them, destroyed cars. Destroyed. I didn't like telephone poles. And so I was going to knock them down. Fire hydrants were in trouble as well. Anything that needed knocking down, I was going to knock them down if I'm drinking. Trouble, trouble, trouble. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm in the San Fernando Valley. 1968, 69. I'm the only Spanish-speaking attorney in the whole San Fernando Valley. I had clients all the time. And when you have clients, they pay you. And so all of a sudden, where I grew up, in a what we call a poor neighborhood, the barrio, if you know what a barrio is, okay? We didn't have that kind of money. All of a sudden, I got money jingling in my pockets, and I could buy the best. And that's what I did when I could, when I wanted to, all the time. Trouble, trouble, trouble. Now, at some point, you realize that something's wrong, that you're not getting along with alcohol and it's not getting along with you, and pretty soon nobody's getting along with you. You become a pariah. You're just on the outs with anybody and everyone. And in the meantime, I met a good woman. We had children. I was making money. She would tell you, you're drinking too much. Woman, I'm taking care of you. Look at your diamonds, your furs, and whatever. Get off my back. I'll be the judge of whether I drink too much or not. That was my attitude. I'm too young, too strong, too good looking. I didn't always look like this, guys. Age catches up with you. It really does. Okay. But anyway, things are going wrong, and I know it's wrong. Alcoholism, what is it? Our book tells us it's an allergy of the body coupled with an obsession of the mind, coupled. We all know what an allergy is. You eat strawberries or whatever you're allergic to, and you break up in strange spots, right? Well, I drink alcohol, I break out in strange spots, hospitals, jails, strange homes with strange people, strange spots. That's what's happening. And I got to know it. I have an opinion, and that's all it is, that there happens to be a difference between an alcoholic and a drunk. The drunk doesn't care. He has no real conscience of what is right or wrong. He just is going to keep on drinking without any thoughts of it. The alcoholic, in my case, I knew it was wrong. I knew I had a conscience. I knew I was getting worse and worse instead of better and better. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. So now at this stage, I'm going to learn. I'm a lawyer, but that's part of whatever it is. Becoming a lawyer, by the way, I did a lot of criminal law. And so I would always talk to the judges, don't throw them in jail, send them to Alcoholics Anonymous. This was about the time that MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, was very popular. It was just growing. And don't put them in jail, that's not going to help you. Put them into the program. I didn't know a thing about the program, but I says, put them there, okay? My clients are paying me to keep them out of jail, and so I'm going to do what I can to keep them out of jail. So I say, put them in a program. And so but I didn't know what it was, but not for me. God forbid. God forbid I go to an AA meeting and I run into a client. Or worse than that, I run into the judge. It happened, okay. So I'm going to read anything and everything I can about alcoholism. I'm going to go to seminars, tell me what it does to you. Tell me how it gets into your system, how it gets in your spinal cord, how it gets to the brain, how it short circuits the brain, how it works, and why it works for some people and not for others. Some people drink and drink and drink, and nothing much happens. I drink and everything happens. Everything bad. Everything bad. I didn't get into trouble every time I drank. I really didn't. But every time I got into trouble, I'd been drinking. And do you know that I couldn't understand that equation? It took me the longest time. So, fast forward, before I got to get to know you guys. I'm reading the LA Times. And the Rand Corporation, you guys know where that is. There are two psychologists in the Rand Corporation. They came with the idea and they said that if the alcoholic knows why he drinks alcoholically, he can become a normal drinker. He just has to know why he's an alcoholic. Who's going to find out I'm an alcoholic? A psychiatrist. So I go to a psychiatrist, I go through the drill, all of that. After a while, he says, Eli, actually he would say Mr. Gauna to me because I was paying him to respect me. He says, there's nothing I can do for you psychiatrically. I suggest, this is his words, I suggest you look into Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just a suggestion. Well, I wanted a second opinion. I went to another psychiatrist. Same drill, same advice. You should consider not Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, I wanted a third opinion. This guy gave me a tennis racket and a mattress, and he says, beat the mattress, and whatever it is, it's causing you to drink. Consider in a room like this, there's 12 of us, each of us with a racket, a tennis racket, beating on a mattress. You're beating your mother who didn't love you, your father who hated you, your neighbors, whatever it is. The only thing that I wanted to beat was me. And I didn't consider myself a masochist, so I didn't. I said, nah, this ain't going to work. So now I says, psychiatrists, 3 of them, okay? I'm going to go to a psychologist. They're not as nuts as a psychiatrist. So I go to a psychologist, and he says, okay. He puts me in a dark room, and there's these wheels going round and round and round. Psychedelic, I'm going to hypnotize you. Every time you want to have a drink, you drink a full glass of water, and that'll give you the full feeling, and you won't pick up that drink. Well, I drank so much water, I almost drowned. Nothing's working. A lot of blackouts in my life. A lot of blackouts. Not all the time, but I had blackouts. Some of you may not know what a blackout is, and I hope you never experience it. It's a horrifying experience. When you're drinking on a Friday night at a UCLA fraternity party, and you wake up, become conscious Sunday morning in a room you don't recognize. You walk to the head motel, it's a cheap motel, and you ask a guy, can you tell me where I'm at? And he gave me the street address. And I says, not the street address, what town am I in? And he says, you're in San Diego. How in the world did I get from UCLA on a Friday night and end up in San Diego Sunday morning? I have no idea. Didn't know then, I still don't know to this day. Don't know. I'm figuring the fraternity guys pulled a trick on me, you know. That's what I was thinking that they did, but they said no, and I believe in it. It didn't work. Anyway, didn't matter. They didn't tell me. They didn't cop out. I never knew. I never will know. Okay, so that's where I'm at. That's what's happening. So I tried antabuse. You guys, anybody know antabuse? Okay. You take antabuse, says the doctor. Now don't drink after you've taken antabuse. You'll get deathly sick and you could die. This is a doctor that you're paying a lot of money for his professional advice. Well, I got deathly sick and I wanted to die. Following his advice. Cunning, baffling, powerful. That's where you're at. Another point in time, I'm reading the same LA Times because after I've been drinking a long time, the next morning, Sunday morning, keep yourself busy. You read. You try to get. I'm reading, and at the very end, there is an article by the Veterans Administration that said the average male alcoholic is married, has a home, has a job, has children, regularly goes to church, and is 35 years old. And I'm reading that, and I says, well, I'm married, I've got children, I have a job, I have a car, I regularly go to church, but I'm only 30 years old. And I wanted to be an average male alcoholic. It had to be. Do you realize the relief you got when you read something that says you're not where you're supposed to be? That was it. I wake up, and here's how I got to know you guys. I have a friend who I drank with, by the way, at UCLA. He was a wrestler at UCLA. He had come to my house because the wife had gone to a family farm in Iowa. So I was there alone. And before she left, she told Ivan, that's my friend, would you watch Eli to see that he doesn't burn the house down? Well, he tells a story. He came over. I was there. He put me on his shoulders. He took me to his home. I wake up in his home from a back out. And Susie, who had introduced me to the doctor who gave me Antabuse, and she was a nurse, she says, Eli, why don't you call Alcoholics Anonymous? On the way home, Ivan said, Eli, Susie's good advice. If you'd like, I'll go with you. Good friend, I'll go with you. He dropped me off. I got out of the car. I opened the door, and there on the kitchen sink is a half bottle, a quart of vodka. I was at the vodka stage at this point in time. Okay? Call AA, call AA. And I'm looking, and there's the phone on the wall. That shows you how long ago it was. That has little things that you dial, folks. There's the phone, call AA. There's the phone book. Open it up. You don't have to fuss with the pages. It's AAA and AA. Okay? Okay. Hello, said the lady. San Fernando Alcoholics Anonymous, can I help you? Yes, I think you can possibly. You see, I've got a friend who I think is drinking too much, and can you tell me what I should do? Well, tell me, friend, what's your name? And I told him, my name is Fred. I already told you guys that's not my name, but I wasn't going to cop out to tell her what my name was. My name is Fred. And she says, well, Fred, where do you live? See, I'm still 2 cheeks to the wind. I've been drinking. And so I gave her my street address, 6834 Shoshone. I know where that is. She says, I live on Texoma. That's just down the block. We're going to send somebody over to talk to you. And I says, no, you don't understand. That's okay, sweetie, and I'm a sweetie now, okay? We'll send someone over. I have another call. Goodbye. Someone's coming over. The booze is coming out of my skin, that greedy, oily feeling. Some of you have been there. You know what it feels like when you're coming off your you're not drunk, but you're not sober, and you're gritty. Well, I'm going to take a shave and a shower, and if nobody is here, by the time I'm done, I'm heading for that bottle. Well, I go in, I take the fastest shave and shower I've ever had, and I'm coming out. Interesting. Show you how stupid sometimes we are. I'm the only one in the house, and I've got a towel around my middle. Who am I hiding from? I think I had to get dressed before I drank, right? Okay, like dressing for dinner. Anyway, I'm halfway there. Ding, ding. I go to the door. Guy opens and says, I'm Frank. I'm looking for Fred. Well, the jig is up. He comes in. He tells me who he is, what he's done, why he's there. And I can't remember much, folks, because I'm still squirrely, if you know what I mean when I say squirrely. Okay? So we talk, and he says, this is Saturday morning. And he says, come on, I'm going to take you to a meeting. It's a 12 o'clock noon meeting, and it's a bikers meeting, okay? And so we go up, and here's a parking lot behind, mind you, a room above, what would you guess? A liquor store, okay? Here's all these Harleys there. I'm going here, and here's all these guys in leather, and chains and tattoos, the ones that you could see. And I'm saying, what in the world am I doing here? Okay. I go in. I don't remember much about that meeting, but they were kind, they were nice, and there's no problems. But I'm still all strung out. We go home. Frank is still with me. Stayed with me the whole afternoon. At this point, he was feeding me crackers and ice cubes, because you can't eat, you can't drink. It all comes back up. And so come 8 o'clock, there's an 8 o'clock meeting at a church. Church, large meeting, maybe twice as big as this or this size. And I'm sitting there. Here's the interesting point. I'm sitting there, standing there, and I'm 30 years old. Got to understand. And this, for a 30-year-old, and I apologize for you ladies who are at that age now, but a little old lady, an octogenarian I call her, had to be 80s. She says, hello, sweetie, I'm still a sweetie. She says, you look to be a newbie. Now I'm a newbie. I'm a sweetie, I'm a newbie. She says, not to worry, sweetheart. She says, now I'm a sweetheart. I remember all of this. She says, you only have to give up the drinking. Sex is still okay. And she says, it's even going to be better. Now I'm thinking, brand new. I'm going to have to go buy a leather jacket, a Harley, and I'm going to get seduced by an 80-year-old woman, okay? And I'm wondering, what in the world's going on? You know what? I found out, where's the big book? I don't see one here. But it's in the book. It's there. It talks about all of this stuff. I didn't know that at the time. Who in the world am I getting involved with? What's happening to me? And so it begins. I go to the meetings. Easy does it, one day at a time. Let go, let God. Read the book. I'm educated. I'm going to rewrite the book. And so now I've got, fast forward, 4 more years of in and out of my association with you guys. I would sit in the back or the front, any place I could sit, and I says, what in the world am I doing here? And I was either bored, scared, whatever it was. The obsession for the drink hadn't left me. It was still there. It was still hanging in there. Now, at this point in time, I had met a lot of you in the meetings, and you all became my Indians. You know what I'm talking about? You had the Indian who lets you out of the forest, the Eskimo who lets you out of the whiteout. I needed somebody to lead me out. I needed a whole tribe. And they wouldn't let me go. They would not let me go. In the morning, I'd have a fellow who would show up and he says, let's go to breakfast. And then at noontime, 2 guys would show up, let's go to lunch. They're taking tabs on me. I've told about having a sponsor. In the evening, 3 or 4 or 5 of them would show up. We're going to go to a meeting. And they're with me all the time. They're not letting me go. I'm going to more meetings than you can shake a stick at. I'm going to a morning meeting, noon meeting, evening meeting, and a midnight meeting, you know, a candlelight meeting. You ever been to some of those? I'm going to all these meetings. And that doggone obsession, that temptation, it hasn't, I call it a temptation. It hadn't morphed into an obsession, because if it morphs into an obsession, that's all she wrote. Okay? But I could tempt it and I could put it off for today. And they're all there and this is going on. And then I remember Bob, who was my sponsor at that time, he says, Eli, you're coming up on a year. And he says, you're going to get a cake. And I says, Bob, I've done everything you've asked me to do. I am a lawyer and you've had me cleaning ashtrays. Everybody used to smoke. That's how long ago it was. Okay, sweeping floors, setting up tables, making coffee. But it doesn't say anything about a birthday and a cake. I'm not taking a cake. I'm a grown man, and you're going to give me a cake with one candle, and everybody's singing out of tune, "Happy birthday to you." I says, "No way, Jose." And he says, "Eli, you're going to take a cake. 3 reasons. You're going to show those who are behind you that it can be done. If you can do it, you're going to demonstrate that it can be done. You're going to take a cake to thank all of us who had to put up with your crap all year long. And you're going to take a cake because I'm 6'8" and weigh 300 pounds. And he did. And so I took that cake. And interestingly enough, my perception is all the Indians, all the Eskimos keeping me out of trouble disappeared. And Bob told me, "Eli, we've taken you to the water, but now you've got to dessert to drink. You know what you've got to do. You got the book, you got the steps, you're on your own at this point in time. We got somebody else who maybe needs our attention more than you do." And so one day at a time saved me for that second year. Okay, it's the end of the day. The Indians are gone. I'm on my own. The temptation is there. No, I'm not going to drink today. Literally talked myself into saying, I'm going to drink tomorrow. And not drink tomorrow, I'm going to get drunk tomorrow, because at the stage in that if I drank, I got drunk. There was no middle ground. No middle ground. But then tomorrow becomes today. And I played that silly game, literally, for the longest time. I'm still going to the meetings. I'm still having a trouble catching it, getting what you've got. The gift, that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I felt like if I had a marble in my pocket, in every pant, there's a marble. Every time I put my hand in the pocket, there's that marble. It's always there, never goes away, that temptation, that annoying sensation. I'm out watering a flower bed. It's in September. I'm coming up on October, that's when my birthday would be. And I'm considering, what am I going to do? It's not happening. But it's like I put my hand in the pocket, and there's a hole in the pocket, and the marble is gone. Marble is gone. Now, I don't know when that hole crept in, and the marble left. I have no idea. I have not one idea. But then I realized that the big book, in fact, the 12 Steps has had an awakening. I realized that somewhere along the line, somewhere, somehow, the temptation, the annoyance, the wanting to take a drink no longer was there. No longer was there. I thought in the words of Martin Luther King Jr. when he talked about the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. And when I think about it even now, I'm a macho guy, okay? I like to think I'm a macho guy. After you get too pretty old, you're no macho one anymore, okay? Age catch up. But here I am. And tears came to my eyes. I'm not a crier. And someone told me, it's okay, Eli. It's okay to cry. Just remember you're crying happy. And that's the case, it was. And that's when the joy began. That's when everything came together for me. Everything. I would not be here talking to you guys today, but for the fact that you were around, and like many of you were at that time. I would not be. No, I knew I was looking at the abyss. It was black. It was all gone. And I'm sitting here thinking that, one advantage of being an old-timer, come October, God willing, the creek don't rise. That's an old statement. Okay? I'll have 47 years sober. They say that gratitude is the greatest of all emotions. That be the case, I am grateful. You have made it all very possible. I'm sitting here and I heard some of you here are because of nudge from the judge. Okay, you have cards to sign. I'm still a lawyer. I still practice. If any of you that are here because the judge sent you here and you don't like it and you don't like what I'm saying and you think that this is worse than the jail you could have gone to, I can arrange for you to do the rest of your time in jail, folks. So long as in LA County, and it'll cost you just gas money and parking tickets. Not parking tickets, parking fees, okay? But I'll do that. And I made this promise to other groups as well. And I actually had one guy said, I'll do that. And we showed up in court because I told him I'd do it. And he says, I changed my mind. Okay. Somewhere, somehow, I'm thinking as I'm looking at some of these young people here, God, I wish somebody would have talked some sense into me when I was 18, 19, 20, 25 years old. I'd be celebrating 60 or 70 years of sobriety. Okay? But there wasn't any of them around at that point in time. But they say that what old-timers have got to do is to carry the message. And I'm hoping I can carry the message sometime, some way. I don't know. Have I got another 25 minutes? I have got more stories to tell you, some of them bad, some of them good, all of them very germane. They're all about not taking that first drink. If there's anything that I've said here tonight that maybe gives you an idea that you're in the right place and you'll stay there, you won't go away. When things get bad, just think in terms of that too will pass. That's what I had to do. It'll pass. Every morning I wake up, I've learned to do this, and the first thing I do is acknowledge I'm an alcoholic. I'll always be an alcoholic. There's no pill, there's no smoke, there's no liquid, there's no injection, there's no drug that can make me a non-alcoholic. I am what I am. Now the book talks that someday somebody will come up with an idea, but I don't know that I would take that idea in any event, because I like who I've met and who I've gotten to know. And you're all, and at the end of the day, I got 5 minutes? Well, I can fill a whole lot of time in 5 minutes. But no, I'll save you a few. The book, for those of you who may not have looked at it for some time, every page, every chapter, just about every sentence says God. You pick what that means for you. But I'm here talking to you because somewhere, somehow, God got my attention, and I think He sent me to you. I do believe that. I do believe that. Gratitude being the greatest of all emotions. When I've completed my day, I've not had a drink, I express my gratitude very simply. I was coming back from a conference of International Lawyers and Alcoholics Anonymous, an organization that I helped found back in 1965. And we're at a bread and breakfast. And I'm coming down from the bread and breakfast, and the lady who's the manager, she says, "Hello, sweetheart." She says, what are you going to have for breakfast? My wife was with me, and I said, "Oh, the usual ham and eggs, bacon, toast." She says, "Okay." We sat down. She brings the plate, and there's the ham, here's the eggs, here's the bread, here's the potatoes, and here's a blob of white stuff. And I says, "What's that?" And she says, "Love." That's the way she addressed me. "Love," she says, "those is grits." And I said, "Grits? I didn't order grits." She says, "You don't have to order grits. You don't have to like them. But grits are like God's grace. You don't have to want it. You don't have to ask for it. You're going to get it anyway." And I think he gave it to me anyway. And all I can say is the prayer I say at night when it's all and done, 2-word prayer. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.